हाँ, एक हफ्ता पूरा कल कल करके। हाँ जी, चलो। हरि ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम नमोस्तुते व्यास विशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दाय तपत्र नेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वलितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः। ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ध्यानमूलं गुरोर्मूर्तिः पूजामूलं गुरोः पदं मन्त्रमूलं गुरोर्वाक्यं मोक्षमूलं गुरोः कृपा। ॐ कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। सद्गुरु भगवान की जय, सच्चिदानंद भगवान की जय, कृष्ण भगवान की जय, गीता माता की जय। हरि ओम। 8 दिन के बाद हम लोग आ रहे हैं। वी आर मीटिंग आफ्टर exact 1 week. Somehow God's will. We are discussing Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, and last time we were discussing on the 8th sloka of 4th chapter. Paritranaya sadhunam विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे। For the protection of the good, for the destruction of the wicked, and for the establishment of righteousness, I am born in every age. Such is the declaration of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. The good who lead a life of righteousness, who utilize their bodies in the service of humanity, who are free from selfishness, lust, and greed, and who devote their lives to divine contemplation, they are called good. Diskritam, the bad, evildoers who lead a life of unrighteousness, who break the laws of the society, who are vain and are dishonest and greedy, who injure others, who take possession of the properties of others by force, and who commit atrocious crimes of various sorts. They are called bad. And we have already discussed many times what is good and what is bad. And Lord Krishna gives his definition it exactly tallies with each other. There is no contradiction. What we discuss, there is no action which can be called as good or bad, nor any object which can be called as a good or bad. But our motives, that's why he says the selfish people who want to do harm unto others, so their purpose is to create harm to others. So the action becomes violence. Violence. So it is motive behind the action, not the action. And from other angle also we see whatever helps you in your journey to achieve some goal, for that time we can take it as good. And whatever objects or actions of yours or others, if it brings obstruction to reach your goal, that is called as bad. Universally we can take it, irrespective of time, space and conditions. So in this way we can understand good and bad. And in general, because Lord is for everyone, He is universal being. So whatever He says as good and bad, that will be taken for the whole society, whole the society of world. Not only mankind's, but for the all beings. So according to this angle of vision, we can say whosoever creates harm to others in any way, he is bad, he is evil beer, and whatever one does for the well-being of others as well as for himself, that is called good. Once our Vasudev, who wrote 18 epics to make the Vedas make the Vedas simple, to simplify Vedas. He wrote 18 epics, and after writing all those, once he was resting, and by the way Narad was going somewhere and met him, the celestial monk Narad, and chit-chat for a while, but Narad said, no, I have no time. He always flies. He cannot stick to one place. So he says, I have no time, and I want to know, I have heard that you have written so many epics to simplify the Vedas. The people in Kali Yuga, they cannot understand the inner meaning of Vedas, so you have brought the secrets of Vedas. To simplify, you have written all the stories and history and geography and everything in your epics, 18 epics. So may I know in essence what have you written? I have no time, I cannot go through all these. So please give me in essence, in few words, what have you written? So Vyasji says, Ashtadasa Puraneshu Vyasasya Vachanam Dvayam. I have written only two things. Paropakaraya Punyaya Papaya Parapidanam. I have written only two things. And I have described these two facts in different ways, through different stories, histories and geographies, and in many ways I have described all this. And this is the essence of Vedas also. What is that? To do good to others. Punyaya paropakaraya punyaya. The righteousness is to help others in every way, to help to do good to others, and to harm others is called sin. These two facts I have written. So from this also we can take the definition. Righteousness means one who do good to others, who does good to others, and one who does bad to others means harms others. That is called sin, unrighteousness. So Lord incarnates from time to time to settle down the law and order in the society, to have harmony in the society, only to uplift the righteous people and to destroy the unrighteous people. That's all. Paritranaya sadhunam vinasaya cha diskritam dharma sansthapanarthaya, to bring law and order in the society. Sambhavami yuge yuge, when the need arises, I appear in on this mundane plane, earthly plane, in the society. So now today we shall see the next stanza. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma na eti mam eti sorjuna. Eti attends. He who thus knows in their true light, means understands thoroughly well my divine birth and action, having abandoned the body, is not born again. He comes to me, O Arjuna. Me means the universal body or the absolute truth. I am the absolute truth. So he comes to me. The Lord, through apparently born, though apparently born, is always beyond birth and death. People may put the question, you say, the righteous people who worship me, who knows me in my true nature, they will come to me, they will not come to the cycle of birth and death. And you have taken birth. And how can they get rid of birth and death cycle? So naturally he clarifies it. I am not in the cycle of birth and death. I just appear and disappear at my will, having full control over my nature, that is Maya. The Lord, though apparently born, is always beyond birth and death. Though apparently active for firmly establishing righteousness, He is ever beyond all actions. He has clarified before it also. I have nothing to do. I have nothing to achieve. But yet I am ever engaged in doing something or other to set examples before others. So he says, he is ever beyond all these actions, yet he performs all these actions. He who knows this is never born again. He attains knowledge of the self and becomes liberated while living. Jivan Mukta. Liberated while living. The birth of the Lord is an illusion. We say Lord has taken birth. It is just illusion, means just relatively we take it, but really it is not so. It is aprakrit, beyond the pale of nature. It is not under the control of nature. There are two types of actions. You see, when we discuss about the three bodies of a being, three bodies are the physical body, gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. That causal body is nothing but the presence of the Lord, where Lord is not directly involved. His presence does the work. So that is known as the reflection or the shadow or the willpower. That becomes the causal body, which is same for everyone. But the subtle bodies, they differ from each other because they are under the clutches of law of action and reaction. So they will be different from each other because every action differs from each other. So when we can see this properly, then we can say Lord is not under the control of Maya. The causal body is not under the control of Trigunas. It is just his presence. For example, we always tell the story of the government. Yes. Once the president of India wanted to come to Gangotri, and this news only. He has not come. He will come. Some program was made. It was not confirmed. That program news itself made everyone alert in Gangotri. All the government workers, all the departments, water department, electricity department, cleaning department, police, law and order, everything, everyone was alert before 1 month. And everything was set all right. Gangotri was looking like a queen. So beautiful. So beautiful. Everywhere there are arches and police people will be standing every few yards apart, and everything was set all right.
They need to do some training also.
Yes, they have to take training. Do all this. And finally, the day was nearer, and the program was cancelled. And Swamiji, Siddhanta Swamiji, arrived here. He had to go to Gangotri. I was there, and others also. When we reached Gangotri, we saw Gangotri was something else. It was so beautiful, so well arranged, so clean, neat and clean. So Swamiji was astonished. What is this? How it looks like this? What has happened to Gangotri? It used to be so dirty, and the pilgrims come and they throw everything here and there. It used to be so happy, dirty. What happened today? So I said, Swamiji, our President Sahib had to come, but his program was cancelled now. So that news has made Gangotri so beautiful. So Swamiji gave this example. The presence does the work, not the person. Presence only. How exact example. His news only. His presence also was not there. The report of information of presence. It is not direct presence. Information of presence does the work. This is how the absolute truth is ever present everywhere. By his presence, the whole nature does its work, and all the subordinates of the nature, all the so-called gods and all those semi-gods, demigods, and our planets and subplanets, they do perfectly their duties out of the fear of the Absolute. The sun rises at right time. Why? Because of the fear of the Absolute's presence. He sets at the right time. The fire burns. It keeps up its law of nature because of the fear of the Absolute. Tasya bhayat. उसके भय से ही सारा दुनिया चलता है. So in this way, the Absolute sometimes appears and disappears. We have seen in that magic card, the sandhis, the in-between gaps, it appears and disappears between the two. So the permanent background is continuous, but in between his presence is known to everyone. So in that way the Absolute plays the game of hide and seek. The world is nothing but a game of hide and seek. Every moment we feel his presence and we forget his presence. That's how the Maya works. That continuity is broken in case of individual beings. But truly, he is ever-present, omnipresent, omniscient and omnipotent, so he need not do anything. His presence is enough to do everything. In that way, he is beyond all these birth and death, cycle of birth and death, good and bad, or action or reactions. Nothing touches him. So one who knows it perfectly well, thoroughly well in his heart of hearts, That means he accepts it with faith and devotion, with a firm conviction. That person will never come to this cycle of birth and death, and he will reach that absolute because he thinks all the time of that state of absolute. That is what he wants to say. Janma karma cha me divyam, this divyam, the divine nature of me. Jo vetti tattvataha, one who knows in its true light, thoroughly well, to its true meaning, he attends me. He never comes to the cycle of birth and death. The birth of the Lord is an illusion. It is a prakrit, beyond the pale of nature. It is divine. It is peculiar to the Lord, though he appears in human form. His body is chinmaya, full of consciousness only. He is never unaware of his own presence. Full of consciousness, not inert matter, as our human body is composed of the 5 elements. How this human bodies or the bodies of other beings are composed? Of course, we know different ways. From different angles people see it and they describe it. So as far as the mixing up of all these 5 elements and 3 qualities, three gunas, the composition starts in the very beginning. The sound, the 5 tanmatras, 5 small units. What are they? Sabda rasa, sabda sparsa, roop rasa gandha. The sound and the touch and the form and the smell and the taste and the smell. So smell belongs to earth. That means when these all 5 small units, that measures, they magnify, they what we can say, they grow in all directions. Then the first comes the sky, that is sound only. So sky is nothing but sound. And touch is air, and then fire and water and earth. So all these 5 elements, gross elements, basic elements, they are formed in this way. And the moment they are formed, don't ask it is in sequence or it is all of a sudden everything at a time. This question is not relevant. Why? Because we see one after another, we think one after another. So it must be in sequence only for us. May it be all of a sudden, everything at a time. But that is not our concern because we cannot see everything at a time. So we have to take it for granted one after another. So it is said, Akasad Vayu. From the sky, the air was born or taken form, anything, any language you can use. So in this way, the same sky, when we can say, the same sky when it moves, that becomes air. When there is movement, naturally there is heat, that becomes the fire. And fire is nothing but water only, oxygen, hydrogen, etc. And water has to have some solidity in it. So this is how all these five elements are seen. And then they cannot remain separately from each other. They cannot, because one is concerned with the other. One has taken origin from the other. So naturally they have to mix up with each other. It is what nature. So they mix up with each other in innumerable ratios. But mainly there are some imaginary degrees of mixture. They say sky is divided into two and the half remains as sky. It is not dividing like tearing up of some paper and making it to know. Sky is so subtle. Dividing means somehow within it. Hanji. When we divide the water, say we mix some milk into water and we say half is milk, half is water. So how can you divide it? They are totally mixed up. One is within the other. And chemically, if we see, the particles, the atoms of, no, the molecules of each other, they find space between themselves and they adjust. That's how the mixture happens. So in this way, the sky mixes with others half, and half remains pure. That purity also is a mixture, because mixture is within the purity. So it is very hard to understand how the mixtures are made. Because sky is all-pervading. The wind is not beyond sky, within the sky. And in that way, everything is within its one. And they get mixed up, and they get solidified. And then these objects are seen to be gross or subtle or subtler or grosser or gross most, something. In this way, all these objects and beings, and there starts the movement. Movement is nothing but energy, and that energy is nothing but the prana, the vital energy. So it is all-pervading. It enters. It is not question of entering, but it is present everywhere. So naturally, what we call inerts, there is also life. Life means movement. But the movement is not physically seen. And what we grossly see, accordingly we divide into some classes, some living beings, non-living beings, or say human beings, animals, birds, etc. Like this we classify for our relative uh, transactions to make it easier. In this way, all these names and forms are created, which is the mixture of all these five elements, where all these five tanmatras are also there. When the tanmatras want to work, activate, then they take the form of the senses of knowledge. And the essence of all these elements and three qualities, sattva, rajas, tamas, the essence of all these is known as the mind. And mind being essence, just as the center makes the circle, so also the mind makes all these bodies. It creates all these bodies. According to its purpose, the bodies are made, just as the instruments are made differently. Something for the gardener, something else for the farmer, something else for the fighters, or do something else. So according to the need, the instruments are made. These bodies are nothing but instruments for the prana to activate. So prana and mind, there is not much difference. One is supported by the other. Mind does the actions, prana helps it, and because of karma, actions and its results, the prana has to go on. And because prana goes on, so mind is able to function. So vice versa. Relatively they are supported by each other, and thereby they perform all the actions. And mind creates this body and prana activates it. So according to the type of actions you have to do, some plan is made before, some project, accordingly the body is made by the mind, and prana enters into it, and both cooperatively they use this body as an instrument. That's all. And nature helps in all respect from every angle. This is called nature. So everywhere, every atom will be somehow or other a cause for any incident. So in this way, the whole world is nothing but a cooperative society. Of course, we can grossly say mind creates this body, composes this body, from taking the ingredients from the five elements. Grossly we can say so, but the whole nature has to take part in it. So now coming to our point, now you can imagine who are you, how are you, what are you. And ego enters in, I. Everywhere ego plays the major role. The body of the Lord is Chinmaya, full of consciousness, not inner matters. Inner matter means these gross elements are not the constituents of the body made for the God's purpose. Whereas the human body is composed of the five elements only, this way. Human body. Not only human body, we can say the animals, birds, or insects, or something. So according to the project and plan made before, the bodies as instruments are made. So one who knows differently the bodies of ordinary beings and the body of the Absolute, he attains the highest. He will not come to this gross body birth and death cycle. He attains the highest. Vitarag bhaya krodha manmaya mamupasritaha. How he enters into the Absolute, how he attains the highest, his qualities. Vitarag bhaya krodha manmaya mamupasritaha vahavo jnana tapasa puta madhava magataha. Freed from attachment, vitarag, bhaya, fear, and krodha, anger. Lord told me just before that kama esa krodha esa rajoguna samudbhavaha mahasana mahapapma vidhena iha vairinam. Lust and anger, or desire and anger, these are your true enemies. Know this, these to be your enemies, not Duryodhana and Dusasan. Your true enemies are within you. Yes, you have to conquer them fast. So he says here also, freed from attachment, fear and anger, these are the real enemies. Observed in me, manamaya, always thinking of me, observed in me, being one with me, taking refuge in me, purified by the fire of knowledge. Jnana tapasa. Tapas is fire here. By the fire of knowledge, by contemplation, meditation, continuously, all the time, he gets rid of all the sins. He will never be tempted to do anything wrong to others. Always he will be thinking of the Lord Absolute. Madhava magataha. He becomes one with me. Many have attained me, my being. They become united with me. How? We have the example. Always we give the example. What happens to the inner sky of an empty pot? What relation it has with the outside sky? If it is aware that it is sky, then it cannot be attached to the pot. It will be always one with the absolute sky. So if the pot remains as it is or it breaks down. It doesn't matter. The sky is always the sky. On this basis it is said, Natasya pranan utkramante, the prana of realized soul, they never go out of the body. Prana means the space and the vital energy. They keep quiet as they are. They have completed their motion or actions. So never to do anything more. So they keep quiet. They remain as they are, as they were. Their prana never gets out. Whereas the prana of the ignorant persons, one who is not aware of this truth, their subtle body with prana, the subtle prana, and all the 5 tanmatras and 3 gunas, or 5 tanmatras with subconscious mind, subconscious mind, ego and prana. This 8-fold body, the subtle body, gets out of this gross body and it travels in the subtle planes, being forced by the momentum of his prior actions. Karmanugo gacchati deva ekaha. His previous karmas, they guide the subtle body in the subtle realms. And everybody's path differs from each other. And there is no question of demarcating lines in the subtler planes. No question. Unimaginable. So the different bodies, they travel in different ways in the subtle realms. In this way, the bodies of the ignorant persons who are under the law of action and reaction and laws of nature, their prana, their body, they get out of this body. Whereas the prana of the jnani, the wise man, never gets out. Nothing happens to him. Everything remains as it is. And we have to say the gross body decomposes, the ingredients go to their original source. That does not mean it goes somewhere, because all the 5 elements are ever present everywhere. So, there also the body decomposes means they just remain as it is, they get subtle form and they remain as it is. Nothing happens. And it is so seen. The body of course, we have seen how the body of Lord Krishna was never burnt. And our body of Mirabai was never seen. It disappeared. The body of Kabir Das, nobody knew where the body disappeared. And so also the body of Milarepa, Milarepa, the Tibetan saint, body was disappeared. So all the ingredients taken from the 5 elements, they were just disappeared in the 5 elements. Nothing happened. Everything disappeared. Yes?
Guru Nanak Dev Ji की भी body disappear हो गई.
Many such cases. Many. Not one or two. So their bodies they become so subtle, they become one with everything. Body-wise, mind-wise, prana-wise, everything becomes one with the Absolute. Mataji?
Muktavai's body is also disappearing.
Muktabai, हाँ, Muktabai, brother of sister of our Jnanadev, and yes. So we have to say nothing about their bodies. Now we have to accept the body of the Lord is not under the rules and regulations of Maya or the nature. Yes?
So Swamiji, like if you have to
Mike.
So if you have to understand in a relatively, so we say like prana is a general is an outgoing tendency, outward expression or
Prana has upgoing tendency.
outgoing tendency.
Outgoing.
Tendency. So in the case of like realized souls, like what Swamiji said, like they don't go out. So they don't go. So in that case, should we understand this as logically and analytically? So there is an activity of the prana is not there.
Not in that way. We don't have to understand from that point of angle. We have to understand what is in and out. They have no body idea. So there is no question of in or out. From this angle we have to see. There is no body idea. There is no demarcating lines. There is no manyness, only oneness. So where is in and out in the Absolute One? From that angle, the prana, nor the body, nor the composed ingredients, they never go out nor remain in, nothing happens to it. It is so hard to understand because we are somewhere away, far away from all this. We cannot imagine all this. But this is the truth. Some of the Vaishnava Mahatmas, one disciple left his body in some calamities, and other disciple was sent by the Guru to find out the body and make the rituals. But the Guru Bhai gaya. The Guru Bhai could not find out because so many people had died. So the Guru again sent him there. See, take every piece of flesh and bone, and here you will hear the name, the sound Ram. That piece of flesh or bone belongs to our disciple. He did it and found it true. So even the hair ends, they will be saturated with all consciousness. Then how to say there is some body and it dissembles or it assembles? Nothing we can say. Everything is everything. So this is the final. There is no question of decomposition or composition. No question. So in this way, he says, Vitaraga bhaya krodha manamaya mamupasritaha. He becomes one with me. 100% one with me. That is called union. And that is, by word we can say union. There is no union. It as it was. It is as it was. It will be as it is. There is no question of union or Bahavo jnana tapasa puta madhbhava magata. Many such people have attained my union with me, being purified by the fire of knowledge, and they have been purified fully. Purification means oneness, and they attained me by 100% purity. That means they become one with me. There are many such incidents. So there is no question to disbelieve it. Oh Arjuna, there are so many proofs. So, when one gets knowledge of the self, attachment to sense objects ceases. When he realizes he is the constant, indestructible, eternal self, and that change is simply a quality of the body, then he becomes fearless. Vitaraga bhaya krodha. We shall discuss it tomorrow. It will be very nice to discuss how one gets rid of these three negative qualities. What is the process, how it happens, how one gets rid of all these raga, krodha, bhaya, and then he becomes union with the Absolute and gets purified. That oneness is attained. We shall discuss it tomorrow again thoroughly. Why Hari Bari? 10th, we shall see tomorrow. Hari Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadguru Bhagavan ki jai. Satchidananda Bhagavan ki jai. Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Gita Mata ki jai. Hari Om.